mean, I knew it would come when I was in the presence of that other energy, but I wasn't sure. And at the end of 6 weeks of this happening, I was on the massage table, and the massage therapist was at my head, and I had an out-of-body experience that I had no prior intellectual knowledge about. I wasn't a person that went to psychic fairs, or, you know, I really hadn't done any research. I was really very busy raising my 3 kids. They were 3, 6, and 9 at the time. And I had what I later found out was a spontaneous awakening, where, and it's very similar to what I've heard people explain here as a near-death experience, where I went to a place of complete perfection, and all of the wisdom of the universe poured through me. It lasted about 45 minutes. My eyes were wide open, but at the time, what I didn't know was that spontaneous shaking of my body was what they call a kundalini rising, and it's in the yogic traditions, and I later found out that there are all kinds of traditions that have, all religious and spiritual traditions have that different language for it. But I was introduced to it through the word kundalini, and I went to a place of complete perfection. And it was described here in many different forms, the people that have been coming here, so it was very similar. I came back from that experience. I remember saying to the massage therapist, "Can you feel that?" Because it felt like the entire world was shaking, all around, the whole world was shaking. And there was just this incredible, incredible light. And I would say that when I came back, the most important thing that I learned while I was gone, there were many, many things that I learned, but the most important thing is that we're here to give and receive unconditional love, and we all do that in our own way. And after that experience, I could barely walk. I finally got out to my car, and I had to sit in the car for about 2 or 3 hours. It felt like I could put my hands through everything. The physical world had completely melted away. I didn't know how to work in the physical world. I finally got home. I don't know how I got home. It felt like I could put my hands through walls. As I was driving, the whole world looked different. It was bathed in this beautiful blue light. I could see energy fields around every living life form. I could look into people's eyes and see their spirits. And a lot of things that sound like hocus pocus. I didn't eat or sleep for 3 months afterwards, because I was so plugged into this universal energy that I was being completely fed, and my spirit was being completely satiated by that. So fast forward, because I only have 5 more minutes and I could probably stay all day long telling you stories. I did eventually get some words around the experience, and I was led to the right people at the right time, just like Andrea was saying. And once I got language, I never watched television. I turned the TV on one day, and there was a 1946 Gary Cooper movie on. I don't remember the name of it, but Gary Cooper had been led by a spiritual master, a lama, up to the top of the mountain, and was left there. And when the lama came back to get him, he said, "Oh, I went to this place of complete perfection, and while I was there, I wanted to stay, but something was drawing me back." And I burst into tears, and I said, "Oh, that's pretty funny, you know?" What a sense of humor the God of my understanding has. And so that was my first experience with language. So then I went right to my rabbi, and we talked about it, and he came back the next day with some language for me. And then I went to the library, and I got all these books, and it was the most unbelievable thing, because I was in such an expanded state. All I had to do was put my hands on the books, and all the information flew into me. It was as though I had written all of those books. If I went into a house of worship, I could immediately understand for the first time the truth. And the only truth is there's something much greater than anything we could ever imagine that guides the universe. I was then led to a minister who was wonderful, and she met with me every week, and she started having me come to speak to different groups at her church and to start doing healing circles. And I realized that when I put my hands on people, I had all these energy centers that were so wide open that I could actually see inside the body. and I could see their organs, I could see their bones, and I felt this heat coming out of my hands. And I worked with a couple of people that had cancer. And to me, when I went in there, I could see the cancer cells, and I could see that it was harder than anything in the universe. So when I would go in there in my mind's eye to try and see if I could find something out in the physical world that would take that away, it was really hard. And finally I realized that if I channeled the unconditional love that I saw when I was there that day in that massage therapist's office, that I could actually channel that energy through my hands and melt the cancer cells, which proved to me that unconditional love is the very most powerful energy in the universe, strong enough. It was the only thing that I could find strong enough to melt those cancer cells. So I started working with people primarily that had cancer, but then I also worked with people that had Lou Gehrig's disease. I worked with people that wanted to get pregnant. I could actually, with the third eye wide open, I could telescopically go into someone's uterus and see what was going on. I could do all kinds of things that sounded like crazy. And the funniest part of it is that I really am a skeptic by nature. So I was reading through my journals last night to kind of go through, preparing, and I thought, really, Nancy? Did that really happen? Like, you know, I'm such a skeptic. Even still, I would come here, and every person I've heard, I think, oh, come on. So it's, you know, again, it just proves the great sense of humor that's out there that's really guiding the universe, because to pick someone like me. So anyways, I have had a healing practice for the last 15 years. A lot of the stuff that sounds like hocus pocus, I asked for that to be removed because I could see death when it was coming. I didn't really want to know when death was coming because there was nothing I could do about that. Being able to really see inside the body, while that was helpful, it was more of people would come to me and they would want to test me, you know, just to see, like, oh, is she telling the truth? Is this magic? Is this real? And what I really, and I'm going to close with this because I'm conscious of the time, is what I really, really wanted people to know the very most is that there is something greater out there that guides the universe. And if they were going to be tripped up on the trickery or the what feels like hocus pocus or, you know, woo-woo stuff or whatever, that they would never really get to the core of what's really, really important. And the only thing that's important is what I mentioned in the beginning, which is to give and receive unconditional love. So over the last 15 years, a lot of those gifts have been taken away from me, and I'm grateful. I don't really want them, but what I did want to be able to pass on is this enormous energy of unconditional love, and it's creation. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. That was quite a story. Andrea, thank you for inviting me here. Thank you for everybody for being here. It's a